What's up, everybody? My name is Alex. I am your host here on the Swole Friends podcast, as well as the co-founder and COO here at Swolverine. Swolverine is an endurance athlete and active lifestyle supplement brand. We offer powders, daily health supplements that are all proprietary blend-free, clinically dosed, and scientifically proven effective. We also offer one-on-one nutrition coaching through the Swole Kitchen, as well as online personal training and functional fitness programming for our competitive athletes. So today I am joined here by Miss Alyssa McClellan, who is so excited. We've been trying to do this for like 2 months, and I'm so pumped we done this. And so I'll give you guys a little bit of background. I've known Alyssa for, oh my gosh, like we can get into that, but about 5 or 6 years, maybe even longer than that.
I would say longer than that.
So crazy. And she's a former CrossFitter. She's turned professional trail and ultra marathon runner. She is absolutely no stranger to crushing you guys like 30, 50, 100, over 100 single miles in a race, or miles in a single race. She can run through the day. She can run through the night. She just like anything that she does though in life that you guys will find out is like to her ultimate potential, which is really, really cool. So we're going to be talking all about her health, happiness, family, kids, relationships, how to be a professional athlete, how to prioritize even training for a 100-mile race, like while still having 6 people in her home. And it's just going to be really fun. So Alyssa, thank you for joining me.
I'm excited.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so excited. First podcast and excited.
I know we're here. We're doing it.
We're going to talk about it all.
Yeah, we're really, I'm super pumped. So it's Thursday. What does a typical Thursday look like for you? Let's just start there.
Let's see. Okay. So the only really day that I rest is Monday. So Thursdays are like a long run if I can get out and get it done. So let's see, right now I'm training 100, which is a very hot race. It's supposed to be. It's like the hottest one in Texas. And they have, oh my gosh, yes. They have like anywhere from a 5K to team relays all the way up to 100-mile. And they don't start until 12 p.m. because they want it to be like the hottest time of the day. So that's when it starts. It doesn't start at 7 o'clock in the morning, and it doesn't start at night. Like a lot of races in Texas will start at night because it's so hot. No, this is like we're starting in the middle of the day when it's the hottest, and we're going to run 100 miles. So that's what I'm training for right now. So like a typical Thursday is during the summer, my older boys can watch the little babies and get on the weather app and find the hottest time of the day. And that's when I like start loading up and going out and running. So hottest time of the day right now. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, rest on Monday. So that's what we have right now.
So counterintuitive to like the just average runner, which I'm going to refer to a lot as myself, like not even the runner, right? I'm like looking at and I'm like, okay, so when's the coolest time of the day? When do I have to see the less?
Yeah, like most people are going out like early morning or even, and I like those times, but I really do like even if I wasn't training for this, I would still like try to go out at 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon and run just because, well, for one, you're getting a tan, and it's just more fun being in the sun.
How do you like wrap your head around running mentally? That sounds so silly, but like for example, I beat the crap out of myself running mentally until I get to a point where like my mind just gets exhausted and like just shuts up. Like, do you experience that type of thing too, or is it a really positive thing for you? I mean, I know we were kind of joking about CrossFit workouts previously, and we'll get into your CrossFit experience, but you were like, I really looked forward to the WODs that had running in them. So what is that mentality like for you?
Let's see. I've always loved running so much. I ran in high school, a little bit, and that was just like, that felt like a chore because, I mean, who wants to do anything when you're in high school? And now I look back and I'm like, I could have been so much better if I had have like actually showed up to practice and like dedicated myself like I am now. But no, it's always come really easy. I just find that it's just one of those things that I really enjoy. CrossFit, it was fun and it was a great challenge and I love pushing myself, but and I like doing this and running as well. But it's like when I go, like I actually look forward to going out and running. Like it's just, it's fun. Like people are like, why do you want to do it? What are you chasing? Like, I'm like, I don't know. It's just fun. Like going out and being miserable, I guess.
You know, sometimes it's like, what are you running from? And I'm like,
yeah. But it's so easy to like beat yourself up about it, you know, like kind of like what you were saying, or like dread it and things, because there are days like that for sure. But I was listening to somebody the other day talking about like when they dread their run, they just think about changing up their route, like going a different, you know, way, or not using headphones, doing a walk run, not wearing your watch, you know, just going out and like taking it back to the basics and having fun with it, and not setting a mileage or a pace or anything like that. And just like enjoying your surroundings, because it is really easy to like just get in the zone and not, because at a lot of these races, like when I went and did Sedona, it's easy to not like look up and enjoy everything. So sometimes you just really do have to stop and look around and like just appreciate like moving your body. And that makes it like, okay, like this is like supposed to be fun. Like, look how beautiful it is and like what we get to do. So that makes it fun.
I also think there's a little stigma too around the idea of going for a run was like, you have to run the whole time. Like,
right. Oh my gosh. My pace and stuff for ultra, like going and doing Sedona was like 20 something. And I'm like, see, y'all can come up, because I always ask people to run with me. They're like, no, you run too fast. I'm like, let me pull up my pace and show you, like, this is what we're doing today. Like, we're going slow. And they're still like, maybe next time. They're like, I don't really believe you. But it's a lot of walk, run, power hike. Like, it's just like, it's a little bit of everything. That's why it's so fun. It's not just like one thing. Like I ran a 5K a couple of weeks ago. That was miserable. Like you will not see me doing that again.
Is that because like you had to like go faster and it was like constant?
Yeah.
And, like keep going.
Yeah.
Like a 5K is probably like a sprint to you, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so it was like, it's a 5K is like 3 something miles, which is like, okay, like, yeah, like I've done 125. Like this is nothing. But you're not walk running, you're sprinting the whole time. And I was like, yeah, this is like once a year thing for me.
That's so awesome. Why did you make the change from CrossFit? And you were a good athlete. Like you know what I mean? Like I feel like you're good at kind of anything you do. You're one of those people, but
yeah, I wasn't bad at it. So at that point in my life, let's see, I had gone to regionals 2 different times, 2017, 2018. And I just had the older boys at that time, which now they're 16 and 11. So they were a little bit younger, but they were starting to get in the age of they were wanting to do baseball and soccer and all the things like that. So it's like, you know, first of all, I'm not like fully enjoying this. Like it feels more of a chore right now. And they're growing up and wanting to do their thing. So it's time for me to kind of put this on the back burner and switch over to mom mode and taxi driver and to and from practices, and, you know, give them my full attention for what they wanted to do. So that's why I really kind of strayed away from CrossFit, just switching, you know, it's different times in life where things are more important than things for yourself.
Yeah. And that's it. It's a unique decision to make. I don't think everyone makes that decision, but the nice part I think is that you didn't lose that semblance of competitiveness and training. You kept training. You just pivoted your training. I mean, like whether it was working out in the garage or doing other things. And what was kind of like your fitness outlet between, and you also had 2 more boys in that. So we'll toss a couple more kids in there, but how have you kind of allowed yourself to change your fitness from I'm going to be as competitive as can be to I'm going to go back to making babies and like staying healthy and doing that, and then where you're at, like kind of like bridge in the story for us.
Okay. So yes, so I had 2 more babies after stopping CrossFit or just taking a break from it. And so I just want to, you know, you just want to stay in shape after or through your pregnancy and then afterwards. So I've always been competitive, just like naturally. So I signed up for street parking. I'm sure you've heard of it. So,
Yeah.
they have like a little online things like that, and it just helps you push harder in workouts and things like that. So I just stayed active during pregnancy, and then even after both of the pregnancies, they were back to back. So they're only a year apart, the babies are. So yeah, so it was just staying active through that. And I'm like, let's get this pregnancy things over with. And then the older boys will be older and more independent. And then I can get back to myself. So let's just stay active and competitive, like, just naturally through pregnancy. And then afterwards, there was a local race, and it was a 15K. It's a really fun one around here. It's called the Fresh 15. And at that time I was like, I think that's like 9 miles, but I was like, that sounds really hard. So like, especially like after just having babies and not like really running, just doing CrossFit WODs in the garage. I was like, that sounds hard. So let's sign up and do it. So I signed up for it, and like I didn't train or anything for it. And like 2 weeks later, I was like, all right, let's go run it. And I signed up and I ran it, and I was like, that was hard. Let's do it again, but let's go further. And so the goal, I was just going to do like some half marathons, like here and there. And then I started like looking, and I was like, what is like even harder than that? Because doing half marathons and stuff, like in the back of my mind, I'm like, I can do that. Like, I know I'm going to finish that. Like, so let me do something that I'm not really sure I can finish. And so I saw that there's these things like called 50Ks and 100Ks. And I was like, let's do that.
Like up the ante. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
There's got to be too like a learning curve with how to fuel yourself. I mean, right? Like you fueled yourself well for CrossFit, but then for ultras, and like your body shape is completely changed, your muscle shapes have completely changed. Like,
oh yeah.
How have you have you fallen on your face with your nutrition and like fueling for races? Like, have you hit the bonk? How have you learned from that while you were building up threshold, like endurance threshold?
I think, so I kind of let go of like what I was eating, but I used to very meticulously do macros every single day for every training session, for CrossFit, like religiously, like for 3, 4, 5 years straight. And then I was like, you know what, like I don't have to do this. And it's hard to let go of that once you've like tracked every single thing that you put in your mouth. It's kind of hard to ease off that and not think like you're going to blow up, and everything's just going to fall apart. Yeah. So I kind of just like backed off of that a little bit, and I was like, this is really nice, like not having to like plug in like everything I'm eating like every single day. So for probably 5 years, I just like ate, clean. But I have had a race where I did one race. I have DNF so far, which is did not finish. And it was because of nutrition. So then I was like, I need to get back on like making sure I'm eating everything. Like if I want to do this like the right way, I think nutrition is so important. And there are different ways to track, your nutrition where it's not as religious as what I used to do. And that's what I've kind of found has worked for me. It's just like loose tracking, and but still definitely like back on it, like tracking, because it just helps me personally make sure that I'm eating enough when I'm going out and giving these big efforts like that.
What's a big thing too, because your safety is also a part of how much you eat, like injuries, unnecessary wear and tear, inflammation, mindset, right? Like your mind's going to go when you're hungry. And then
if your mindset goes and you're in the middle of the desert, it's like, you're stuck out there in the middle of the desert and you're like, oh my gosh, I have no food, I have no water. Like, and then your mind is just like snowball, like you're just out of control. And I'll text my husband and he's like, okay, we're not doing this. Like, let's get back on track. Like, let's not like let our mind go over here. Yeah. So we just like really try to stay on top of all of that.
So you do carry your phone like during races?
Yes, I do. I try not to use it. And I tell my husband, I'm like, don't text me like what place I'm in, like if I'm doing good or bad or anything like that. Like, don't tell me anything. if I text you and ask you, like, that's a different question. But yeah, I do keep it on me the whole time, and for music and things like that. And but I try to just like keep it in my pocket and not look at it.
I know for some reasons you can't listen to music, but for like longer ultras, maybe you can. Or what's the kind of rule with? Is there a rule for that?
Yeah, like, so a lot of times when you up on their website, it'll tell you like just have one earbud in, just so you can hear people around you if somebody wants to, because a lot of these are on single track trails where you're just literally like lined up like this. And if it's a big race, like you can get kind of stuck and somebody wants to go around you or something. Or if you're on like a public trail or a mountain bike trail, people want to go around. So they have like open ear headphones that like kind of just go around, so you can still hear but listen to music. So those are really good for that. But I try to use music as a tool, like towards the end of the race or in hard spots, to just give me that extra boost, because music does work. Like some old school, like 2000 rap, like gets you going.
I know. Someone sent me this morning, like 50 Cent's one of his albums, and he's like, "This is going on repeat today."
Yes. Like I used an old iPod Shuffle at my last race, and it had like my old music that I used to train to, and it was just like, yeah, let's go. And I'm like, okay, wait, I need to like slow down.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. And I swear that's like what gave me that extra boost like in that last race.
Yeah. When you say you use it as a tool, is it kind of like a pacing thing? Is it a mindset thing? Is it a timing? Like, okay, I know there's 10 songs on this playlist that puts me at 40 minutes. Like, what is that like?
Sometimes, yeah, like this, the last 5K I was just talking about, I made a playlist. I was like, all right, here's all these songs, and this is how long it's going to take me, and this song's going to help me at this point in the race, and then this one's going to help me get up this hill. And I started the playlist, and then it was just like out the window, like whatever. like this is hard, and I'm dying, and I don't care what song is on right now. But no, I think it would be more of just like the beat of the song, like upbeat songs, and they even have playlists of like whatever you want your heart rate to be at. Like they have songs where you can kind of like keep that on, but it's also just like a distraction of the mind, because when I don't have anything in, I can like hear myself breathing, and I'm like, I don't want to hear that. But it is good to take it out and like hear your breath and like control it and things like that. So it's like an off and on thing. But yeah, definitely a tool for staying on certain beats.
Yeah, that's cool. It's interesting because like relating to that as someone who just totally doesn't run, like I randomly hopped into a 12K the other day, because kind of like you said, it's like, well, where am I at? What am I doing? I don't know if I would do this. It's just like, I don't know, throw yourself in the fire, get uncomfortable, right? Like we don't always get to get uncomfortable or be a beginner at something, or just even be bad at something, like especially as adults, right? Because we're like, oh, well, I've worked on this for 10 years and I've been in my job for 15 and blah, blah, blah. And I know it was a like no headphone race, but I still like kept my little cord headphones in my pocket. And I was like, yeah, I'm a rebel. And then I like, cause I beat myself up really bad. And so then I put them in, and I had them in maybe for like 2 songs. And then I ran up and there's a bear like 30 yards away. And I was like, maybe this is why they said no headphones.
Yeah. So I can hear my surroundings. Like, yeah, when something's coming up and growling at you.
Right. And like just kind of be aware of it. And so I don't know. That's a whole other thing.
The open ear ones are really nice because your ears stay open, but you can still have music. So
yeah, that's actually really cool. I think I saw someone in the airport and I thought they were like a hearing assist type thing.
Well, I've been on the mountain bike trails here in Tyler, and I've had earbuds in, and I'm like checking my shoulder, like, like every few minutes, but like a few times I've checked it and there's been a biker back there, and it's just like I have like this mini heart attack, first of all, because I'm like, oh my God, somebody's like trying to like take me down. And then it's also, then I think like, how long have they been behind me, like trying to get around? Like, yeah. And I'm like jamming to my music, and they're like behind me, like, okay, like beep, beep.
Not trying to ruin your time, but
Yeah. And then I'm like have a mini heart attack. And then I'm like, okay, like that was totally like a wake up call. Okay. Like an ego check. Like, let me take these out for a minute and just like settle back in.
Look at the view. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, okay. Yeah. Now let's like check out the view. Like,
what do you bring with you? So we know you bring your phone, maybe like an iPod shuffle or something. But what else? Like, do you wear a vest? Do you carry water? Do you wear one of like the hip packs?
So my first race that I did last year, I was like, oh, that's a really cool like weight vest or belt. So I tried the belt that you put like water bottles in. And I did not like that. It just felt like my butt was like shaking the whole time. So yeah, I do not like it. I'm like, oh, my butt's like this. And I'm like, oh, that's not comfortable. Yeah. So I wear a vest and I really like it. And it just depends on the weather and how far I'm running that day. And if there's like refill stations, like if I'll just do like the bottles in the front or just carry handheld. Sometimes I'll just carry like one handheld, but I really like my hands open. So I'll do the vest with either the water bottles in the front or the big like 2-liter in the back that has like the straw that goes around. That's what I'm training with right now because I know that's what I'm going to use in the next race. So I'm just like, that's like my least favorite. So that's what I'm training with right now just to get used to it.
Is that kind of like a Camelback situation?
Yeah. So it carries
That's
2 liters in the back, and then you can also put water in the front because a lot of these races, they will have required amount of water or gear and things like that, just so you're safe out there. Like if the aid stations are further apart. So that's why I'm practicing with that one, is because that's the one that's going to be required. So.
Gotcha. How do you prioritize running while having a family? I mean, you have 4 boys, you're married, you have a cat, a dog, or more.
Four cats and a dog.
4 cats and a dog.
8 chickens.
Oh my gosh.
I know. It's really not that hard. I have so much help around here, and my kids understand like how much I like to run, and so they're just so easy and always so helpful. Like if I need help with the babies and stuff during the summertime, and on the weekends is when I have to do my long runs. And the good thing about that is my husband is so understanding. Like this weekend, I have a 5-hour run on Saturday and then like a 3-hour run on Sunday. And I was reading it off to him, and his response was like, good, like, let's get it done. Like, let's plan it. Like he's so supportive of, and that is very hard to find. Like, it's hard to find somebody that actually fully supports you, that doesn't just say, want the success, but they're there for the hard work in between, like leading up to the success,
Yeah.
So it's just having a good support system makes it super easy. And I'm the one that's like, okay, like I'm ready for this run to be over. I'm ready to be back home with everybody. And then I get back and they're just like all good, just like, chilling, working in the yard and stuff. And I'm like, oh, I'm stressed out, like being away for so long for nothing. Like that my husband handles everything here at the house when I have those big runs and stuff like that. So that he makes it easy to balance.
That's beautiful. And when we think about like relationships and past relationships and things like that, that support isn't always there. Right. And like, that's not something that has always been around for you. It's not always been easy. And you have been through some tough things. And what do you kind of like look back on like the past, and especially having children and then like going through like your athletic career, that you would tell yourself, 10 years ago? If you knew
so many things. I guess I'm so stubborn. I have to learn the hard way with everything I've ever done in life. I've had to learn the hard way, and that's on me, just making poor decisions. But I would say that if the person that you're with is not supporting you, don't wait it out. Like it's not going to get better if they're making it about them. Like don't waste your time. Like And it's hard to see that when you're in like a relationship that you think isn't, you know, you're like, I don't think this is the best relationship, but maybe it'll get better. Life is just so short. So it's just like, don't try to please other people. And I've always had like this deep, for myself, like I just know what I'm capable of, and I really truly believe in myself. And now seeing the difference in having a supportive relationship or marriage versus one that's just like a one-sided, like make it about them kind of thing. Once you see the difference, you're like, wow, like I wasted so much time. But you can't go back and get that time back, but you can appreciate every moment, I think, a little bit sweeter, you know, this time around, like doing it
and like
right.
and like be present with it, right? And like kind of not, you know, I think especially in states of fight or flight and being in things where you are questioning it and you're questioning over and over, but then you keep rewriting that narrative of like, it's okay, it'll get better, or it's this, or this is just the way
Right.
it is. You know, like how do you, it's just, I don't know where it's going with that. It's just a tough one. And I think a lot of people without even saying anything can probably relate to the things that you're saying, you know, and if you do have to question yourself, or like even being in sports, like you mentioned that with CrossFit, you were like, I mean, I did it. Yeah. But like, wasn't like my whole thing. Like I did it maybe to the best of my ability, or like I always applied myself, but I don't know. It's just kind of part of the story. It's not like, oh, I gave up and found running, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how I think that you have to look at a lot of things is this is a part of the story. Like this is the next step to get to the next step. And so when I think about things in the past, I'm like, you know, I can't like beat myself up and think about it too much. It's just like that was just another step in this journey, you know.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that you DNF'd only one race. How many races have you ran? Do you know?
I don't know. Oh my gosh, probably only like 5 or 6. Most
Okay.
of them have been 50Ks. My first 100 miler was February of this year, and then I turned around and did a 125 miler. So,
Wow.
yeah. And I've
I don't even
done one
25,
100K, which is like 62 miles.
62. Oh,
But I really like the 100-mile distance. Like, and they even have races that are like 200 miles, go up to like 300 now. And I'm like,
wow. That's
yeah,
that's wild. That's a lot.
yeah, that is a lot.
How do you handle, so kind of like touching on the DNF, how do you handle disappointment and failure?
All right. So that race was a 40-miler race, and it was probably my 3rd or 4th race. And so I didn't really realize, like, I knew, like, yeah, this is hard. Like, it's supposed to be hard. But I never was like, realized that when it gets hard, it's okay if it gets hard and you need to readjust and, you know, adjust your goal and keep moving. Like, even if you're walking, even if you have to stop for a minute, like, it's okay to be in pain. It's okay that your plan didn't work. Just keep moving forward. So I didn't realize that. I just was like, oh, this is hard. I don't feel great. I need to stop. Like, there's no way to recover from this. And which is so wrong because in races that are that long, anything can happen and so much can change. Like, you have these really high highs, like you're like when you start the race, you're like, oh my God, this is so much fun. Like adrenaline is pumping. Okay. And then you're like 20 miles in, and then you're like, okay, here's a low. Like, why am I out here doing this? Like, this is no fun. Like, let's go home. Like, if you can make it through that low, there's going to be another high. It's just like going, like, I like to think about, like, I don't like climbing. It's not my favorite. But I know after every climb, like there's going to be like the downhill, which I love. So it's just like, you know, same thing in life. Like, if it's getting hard, like just get over that because you're going to have another high coming. And so you just have to work through those, like, and without quitting. Like, and so the thing that made me think that, and I'm sure I will in the future DNF again, but they got a picture of me like signing off on my DNF, and I saw the picture and I can see just like the disappointment in my face. And I'm like, I never want to feel that again. Like, and there's no point to it unless like, I could tell my husband all the time, like they're going to have to like come get, like bring me a stretcher and like take me off the course. Cause I'm not going to quit. Like, cause I never want to feel that again. That disappointment in myself. So it's just like riding the highs and the lows. Like, don't think too much of the high. Like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. The whole race is going to be amazing. No, it's going to be like this the whole time.
Well, it's like
and if you can,
expectations, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
setting appropriate ones and asking the right things of yourself and being like, it's not here and it's not here. So let's just keep going like this.
yeah. And it's like the same thing in life. So like when I'm going through that in a race, I'm just like, you know, like we've been at the lowest of lows before and we got out of that and we've had some really good highs before. So let's just work through this and get past this and let's enjoy the next high and know that there's a low coming too and just work through it.
Well, there is a difference between managing expectations and rating or acknowledging pain.
Yes.
Right? So like pain in the sense of an injury or like something that's going to debilitate you. We're also just managing like discomfort, right? So how do you decipher between pain and discomfort either when you're training or running or racing?
So the first race 100-mile race I did that was in February, it was so rocky. It was so rainy. It was literally 100-mile hike. It was terrible. I would not suggest anybody like do that one for their first 100-miler, but me, I was like, yeah, no problem. But the first part of the race, I was like, yeah, this is so fun. And it was so much climbing that I was using like the same leg over and over to climb. And by the end of that race, I think like with 20 miles left, I had gotten sepsis in my leg and didn't know it. My leg was swollen. I could barely move it. It was so red, hot, everything. And I was like, this is very painful. And like most people probably would have quit. But I'm like, my husband was like, no, we're not quitting. He even like went out and yeah, he even went out and ran like the last 7 miles with me, like because you can have pacers. And so he paced me on the last one, but it was like most people would quit. And that was very painful, but it wasn't something that was that I felt was going to hurt me in the future. Like if I feel something in my body that it's like, okay, this feels like an injury that is going to like hold progress back from like the end goal. If I feel like it's like that, I probably would, I don't even like to say it, like probably DNF, but it'd be very hard to. So, you know, I really just think that you should think about like the future, like your you know, what your goals are. And if it's something that's like, you're like, wow, this hurts really bad. Like this is a different kind of pain. Then you should probably like talk to medical or something like that. But if it's not, it's just like, suck it up and keep going. Like, you know, it's going to be hard.
Well, it's kind of like the same with the mental discomfort too, right? Like you just beating yourself because it's hard, or are you like, this is going to be World War III and it's going to go on for 2 years? You know, like, are you going back into really negative old thought patterns that you worked through in therapy and that like you're a lot of that progress you've made, or are you just having a tough time? You just, like you said, just need to like push through.
Right. And if you can like acknowledge that thought that's going in your head and stop it like that, then I think it's going to be easier to get through instead of, because if you start letting your mind spiral and go like, okay, this is not going good, I'm hurting, like, okay, now this, and this, like it's going to add up. But if you're like, okay, let's stop, and I'll do that a lot. And like when I'm out training, just practicing it, like, okay, this hurts, but let me like do a body scan. Everything in my body is fine. You're just like complaining right now. So let's switch our mindset and think about something else. But it's just controlling, you know, your mind.
Yeah, I love that. For our audio listeners, Ernie, thank you for tuning in. Does Alyssa have any recommendations for a first race? I've never done one, but I want to keep up with my girlfriend who does 8Ks to 11Ks weekly. Oh, I did one this year and I'm done. But weekly for fun on her own. That's a good question. What advice would you say? Just do it. What's innovation?
Yeah. Right. I would just start with, I don't have any race recommendations, but I would say just start with like a 10K. I wouldn't try to do anything crazy. Like my goals are like extreme. And I'm like, let's sign up for 100 miles. You've only ran 5. Like that's how I am. So don't do that. Yeah. Start with like something that you know you can achieve, like the first couple of races, and then the next one that you sign up for, be like, this is going to be really hard and I'm really going to have to train for it. I can put all my focus into it, and then sign up for that one. But I would get just like a couple of like 10Ks under your belt first, and like just get that confidence, and then sign up for something that you're not sure is going to be easy. Like sign up for something that's like, this is tough. Like it's going to require all my focus.
And remember, you can walk.
Yes, you can walk. So what I'm actually practicing right now, which is a very helpful tool for people out there, is I have a certain pace that I want to hit at this next 100 miler that I know is going to keep my heart rate like just steady and not spike and just explode. So I have an app on my phone, interval trainer, that's just, it'll beep like after, hey, I want to run for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And then I want to power walk for 3 minutes. So you can get like an interval app that will beep for high intensity and then low intensity, high intensity and low intensity. And I'll go out and do that for an hour just to get my body used to it and my mind used to it, and knowing that it's okay. Hey, like even if you feel good right now, even if you want to run like this good stretch, you still need to like pull it back some. So that's a good tool for people to use.
And that's an app?
Yeah, just an interval training app. And you can set like the time that you want to run and the time you want to rest. Mine's just like, I'm just been doing just like a 5 hard and then 3 power walk, just so I can be like, it's okay to walk. Like you feel good right now, your heart rate's low, but when you're at mile 80, you're going to be happy that you started off, conserving some of that energy, and you still have some at mile 80, because you want the back half to feel better than the first half sometimes if you can.
Yeah. And then when I did that 12K, there's this man, he had to have been like 85. And he just like power walked the whole thing. And I think he passed me halfway through the race. And I was like, I
know, I'm always so humbled.
Run stop.
I'm always so humbled by people that are power walking, and then people that are older than me. Like they're killing it. But it also like gives me so much motivation. I'm like, yes, like give me 10 years and I'll be out here like lapping you girls. Like and it also just shows you like age is such a number. Like we just put this thing in our head that it's like we're at this certain age, so we should slow down. It's like, no, like these people are actually out here like lapping me. And my husband's always like in the race, he's like, what are you doing? Like she's like 50 years old. I'm like, I know, she's better than me.
There's nothing wrong with that. Okay.
Yeah. Just wait.
Another thing that surprised me too about racing was that, or like the race itself, was that the reasons why people did it. So like some people were out there just walking the 12K because by the time they were done with the 12K, like it was a trail run, their husband was done with the marathon. Or another reason was like this woman had MS and she was like, this is just a nice way for me to remember that I can push myself in my daily life. And she's like, my goal is to not fall down more than twice. And I saw her at the end of the race and I was like, did you fall? And she's like, yeah, only once. It was amazing, And I was like, this is really cool. Or like just people who want to walk it. Like I went home and I was like, I told my parents, my stepdad used to be a runner. And I was like, you could just walk it while I walk the 6K. I'll do the 12K. I'm so slow. We'll just finish at the same time. We'll go get brunch. And my parents were like, you're insane. And I was like, no, really brunch. Like that's the reward, right?
But it is such a cool thing that everybody is so unique, you know, in their own journey. So it's like you cannot ever look at people's Strava like with their
Yeah.
pace and things like that because you have no idea like what their personal goal is out there. So it's like so easy to be like, oh, they're walking, like they're out of shape, you know, but you don't know like why they are out there and what their like personal goal is. So it's like you don't know what
Mhm.
people are going through. So it's so to me, I love going out there and just like encouraging people because you never know, like one word could like really mean something to somebody. So it's just
Yeah.
such a good reminder that we're on like this long ultra journey,
Mhm.
you know, for our own reason. Like, and everybody's is so different.
Yeah, that's so important, because I think we talk about, like, especially in the CrossFit world, like our community is pretty familiar with that. There's been a lot of talk around mental health with like Haley and, some of the younger athletes and Emma and all this kind of stuff going on where it's like, I can't just keep hammering the wall, like I've got to
Yeah.
realize, like, is there a way through the wall, not just smack, 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 smack until I make a hole through it, And it's like similar to what you're saying, like you never know what people are running from or running towards,
Yeah.
right? For me, running has not always been the positive thing. Running's been like, if I'm out running 10 miles, some shit's wrong in my life.
You're like,
My
so
mom's like,
she's
"Woo-hoo,
going
dude,
through something. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, or other times it is a positive thing, but that's not always the case. And so, yeah, like getting caught up in that can be really hard. And
It's so easy to get caught up in, you know, what other people are doing too, because social media, it's all, you know, everybody's posting their best side. So it's like,
Mhm.
oh, why am I not this fit? Or, you know, so it's just if you can separate yourself from that, which I know it's hard, but I think it's easier like with age and, you know, as you get older, you're like, I don't really care what other people are doing. Like if you can actually find the reason why you're doing what you're doing. And I
Mhm.
always had that issue in CrossFit was I never really knew why I was doing it. I was just doing it just because it was taking up time, you know.
Mhm.
um,
You're okay.
but
It's those
with
first
running,
podcast jitters.
and even still with running, I'm like, I don't like really know why I'm out here like in the middle of the day running. But then at the same time, I'm like, I don't actually like have to have a why, but I know that I'm out here because I really, really love doing this and it makes me happy. And that can be your why. Like you don't have to have any like deep reason um why you're out doing something. You know, you just I think that you need to find like deep within yourself that you're doing it for you and you're not doing it for social media. You're not and sometimes when I'm out running, I'm like watching my pace and I'm like, why are you doing this certain pace? Like, are you doing it for you? Or are you doing it because other people are going to see your Strava and they're like, her pace was this, this, and this? Like, well, take a step back and realize that nobody cares about your pace. Like only you in your mind are thinking that other people care. And also you need to make sure that you're doing this for you and not for anything else.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think another thing too is why you're not doing it. So a lot of times we talk about, oh, well, our why is rooted in this and our motivation's rooted in this and our emotional connection's rooted in this. But with running specifically, why are we not doing it? Why are we avoiding it? Why are we avoiding discomfort? Why are we, why do we shy away from just sticking ourselves out there or going outside or allowing ourselves to walk during a run? Why are those negative reinforcements
Right.
from coming in? Right. And running is just kind of an interesting one because like everybody's pretty much going to suck when they start at it. But running is such a fundamental human, like
Yeah.
physiological thing, right? Like even from like we got to run from a bear since bears seem to be our theme today. No, we're not taking on men, but we're talking about like why do we avoid things too?
It's like,
Like
where did that stigma come from, you know, of your pace is this, and if it's not, then you're not a runner. Or if you walk, then you're not an elite runner. You know, it's like, where did that pace come from? Like, your pace is whatever your pace is. Like, it's relative intensity, just like CrossFit. Like, your 15-minute pace is going to be feel just as tough as my 10-minute pace out there. Like, it doesn't matter what your pace is. You're out there and you're moving and you're doing what you can do for you. And that's all that should matter. Like,
Mm-hmm. This is a really good question from Jay Tega. Do time zones mess with your training, or how do you adjust for them? So maybe like a race in a different time zone or a different area, like even if you're traveling to a different place, how does that?
So the only one that I've done that was in a different time zone would be in Arizona, and Arizona didn't have like daylight savings or anything like that. So it was super bright, early, and it was like daylight all day long. So I really didn't feel any difference with that. And we got there a few days before just to kind of get used to it. And we drove. So it wasn't like we were in a plane and like jet lag and all that kind of stuff like that. So we drove, we made sure that we got out and moved a bunch, and just take a couple days to get used to it. But it's never really it didn't bother me any. And I was probably just so excited for the race anyways. I could have ran like, if it started at 2:00 in the morning, if it had started like the day I got there, like I was just so excited to be there and grateful to be there that,
Yeah. I love let's see. Rhonda, this is a good question. She says, I think from
this is my mom.
Rhonda. Hi, Mom. I'm like, where's my mom? From an age viewpoint, people are intimidated and don't feel like they belong, that running is for elites. I would agree with that. I think that's a lot, especially like things that are like blown up on social media, like CrossFit. Like I've even had that conversation with my mom, and she's like, well, I can't do CrossFit because I'm not your age, and I'm like, no, that's not true.
And then but then you have to be like, where did that come from? Like, is that something I've heard from somebody before, or is that something like that's like a made up thing in my mind? But in trail running, in trail running, I think if you're confident, ultra running, whatever you're doing, if you're confident in yourself, like I said, like there's ladies out there that are 50s and 60s that are like, and even older than that, like that are out there just like really crushing like 20 and 30-year-olds. Like, it's like crazy. I'm like, I always tell my husband all the time, I'm like, the woman that ran this race is 46. Like, I can't wait. Now I'm like, I cannot wait till I'm 46. Like, think about the difference. That's 10 years from now. Like, it just shows you that it's literally a number. If you train hard and push yourself and like take care of your body and your mind, like you can do anything that you want to. Like, it's really cool to see like the different ages out there. And they're like people like men out there in like their cargo shorts that are like we said, like power walking, like they're like power hiking and then like crushing it. Like, I'm like, good for you.
Yeah, that's another thing too. So I think with like running in general is that in races is that I think people stigmatize sports a lot, right? And like, oh, you have to be tall to be this in sport, and you have to be lean to be this sport, and that kind of thing. And I went to the race, and I was like, these people are kicking my ass, and I mean, and we all look different. Does that kind of make sense? Like everyone has a different shape and size and length and stride.
Yes.
It's just kind of wild. I was like, why did I?
It's kind of like in CrossFit, it's kind of like the same way. Like, oh, she's tall, so she's going to be good at rowing or wall balls, or she's shorter, so she's not going to be as good at wall balls, which is such a thing in our mind. Like, I didn't think that back then. It was just like, oh, like this is what it is. This is how it goes. Well, if I just really try to reframe that, like everybody's different sizes, everybody's doing different things, everybody has different goals. But like with me, it's been like, I don't like doing incline. I don't like going up mountains and hills and stuff like that. So I just really try to reframe. Like if I'm fixing to go up a hill, I'm like, you've worked really hard on this. You're out here working just as hard as everybody else. Like, so let's just like change our mindset on this and not think that you are not good at this because of you're this size or your legs are shorter than this person's or you're skinnier than this person. Like, no, you put in the work and like you're going to be just as good at this as anybody else. Like, it's not about body shape and size or anything like that. It's the work that you put in. Like, and so it's just reframing that mindset again.
This is a good question. Alyssa, do you have a dream race you would like to participate in, like the Boston Marathon or one in another country or something?
Okay, my dream race since like finding, yes, I do. But it is one that you have to qualify for. It is called Badwater 135, and it
Mhm.
is in Death Valley, like the hottest place
Oh.
that you can run.
Mhm.
But you have to have a certain amount of 100 miles under your belt, like for the past 3 years. So that's kind of what I am working these 100 milers around, is like, that way when I go around I can apply for Badwater 135 in 2026. And so that is like, I really want to do that race. It's like supposedly really miserable, really hot. It's 135 miles and the hottest place that you can run. And so that's my dream race.
That's pretty intense. I mean,
I
with the
know.
heat wave we had like recently, it's like 130 degrees down there. Like you do like the heat. You mean that when you say that.
I know, I do. And like I've seen so many horror stories like about that race of like people just cramping up and their body like not moving and stuff like that. And I'm like, let's try it. Let's do it. Yeah. Because there's this certain thing of like, if when you get to the finish line, you're like, wow, like I really did that. Like I've seen so many horror stories about that, and I cramped. Like, even if you cramp through the race, you're like, I still pushed through like all that discomfort. Like if I can do that, like please, like throw something at me, like bring it on. Like you can get through anything. Like once you do that.
Yeah. How do you feel like being a woman and just being a woman affects you? You're running, you're training. Do you train around your cycle? Do you allow that to influence anything? I mean, there's been a lot of talk about that, like in the lifting world, right? Like, well, lift during ovulation and then don't during blink, and finding that out. Do you feel like that plays into it, or are you you're in tune with your body as an athlete where like that doesn't necessarily affect you?
So the thing with that is I actually just got off of hormonal birth control. So I literally just had my first period, my first cycle in 2 years. So
Oh,
I am just now getting to play around with that,
yeah.
of kind of training around my cycle. So I haven't got to play around with it too much since I haven't had one in 2 years. But
Mhm.
I feel like I can now be like more in tune with my body. Um, and yeah, I don't know. In CrossFit, I don't think it like really affected me that much, but yeah, I just
It's kind of like a discussion. Like, I feel like people either feel like really one way or the other about it right now, and
yeah.
I won't take an opinion on it. I don't really. I'm kind of like you, where I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I showed up today. It just kind of felt like it today,
Yeah,
and
that's what I do. I'm like, whether I feel good or not, if it's like the day to
we're still
train,
gonna
like
do it.
then yeah, we're still gonna train. Unless I feel like okay, like it's gonna like get injured or something like that. No, it's just like you're just like take some Tylenol and like let's keep moving.
Spoken like a true boy mom.
Yeah, I
And
know
keep
exactly.
going.
Yeah, get up and like rub some dirt on it and keep going.
One other thing kind of that I'll touch on too is that like running with boobs. I
Uh-huh.
know. Sorry
I
for our
get that
boys,
question. No,
but
I get this question all the time, way more than what you would think.
yeah. And how do
Um,
you work around it? Like, how do people with, like, I think, and you have implants, right? Like, so
yeah.
did you feel like that affects you? Have you always had like bigger boobs, or like, just talk to me about what that's been like for
Okay.
you and how you would advise others who maybe are a little bit bigger breasted or do have implants, and how to take care of that as without pain, or how to work around that.
Yeah. So I've had mine since my 20s. And then um, 4 years ago, I had them redone. So
Mhm.
I've always had them, I would say, because except for in high school, I didn't have them in high school. So I've always had them like my adult athletic career. Um, yeah, strap them bad boys down. Yeah. So I have never felt like they've gotten in the way, like ever. Maybe in CrossFit, like if I did bar muscle ups and stuff like that, I would just be like, this would probably be easier if I didn't have it. Or the only other thing that bothered me was the look of it like being under the muscle and like, you know, when you flex, like they kind of move and things like that. But as far as running, I've never felt like they've gotten in the way. And for me, like, I don't even like really notice them. I asked my friend Faith, I was like, does it look like I'm like a big chested like female? And she's like, yeah, because I'm just used to them and I don't notice it. But what I do is I get a sports bra and I usually just like size down so it's tighter. So they're like in a sports bra, like nice and tight, but they've never gotten in the way, or I don't know, like if I didn't have them, maybe I'd be a little bit faster. But I'm not trying to go fast. I'm trying to go far. So,
how I feel about my butt. That's why I don't run.
Yeah. But it's never been like discomfort or anything like that. No, I just a smaller size down with a sports bra, and even like wearing my vest that holds my water in, like that's like a double sports bra. Like I can strap that up. But my upper back, like a lot of people are like, does your upper back hurt and things like that? But no, sometimes I like notice myself. I'm like slouch and I'm like, you pull like your shoulders back and stuff. But but no, they don't like bother me or like bounce around or black eyes or anything like that. Like I just put on a tight sports bra and go, you know, that's about it.
Awesome.
And there's no pain. I think if you're like having pain, like that could be like a different issue, or maybe get a tighter sports bra, or I don't know, like if it's like really painful, see somebody. But
well, yeah, too, and like over time, like I think you get used to it and work with it. Yeah. Oh, that's an interesting question.
It probably would actually feel like it'd be interesting like to have a day where I didn't have them and like go out and run. I'd probably like feel really good. This is like free.
That's fair. Would you have, I mean, you probably haven't, but I wonder if people use tape. Like, you know how, have you seen people use like KT tape for their like pregnant bellies to like pull it up?
Yes. The only thing I've ever used tape for is like if I'm like wearing a dress and like tape them together. Like, but no, I don't tape them for a run. Yeah. I'm like, got the duct tape and you take it off at the end of the night and you're like, oh my God, that hurts so bad.
Jonathan, you should tape yours and see what happens.
Yeah.
He's going to hate me for that. Good posture and chest lifting helps. Yeah, probably also just like strengthening your upper back too. And just getting, I think the posture is a big one, probably, you know, just
if you could just like, paying attention to your posture. Like sometimes my husband will be like, you pull your shoulders back some. I'm like, then I feel like I'm like sticking them out there for people to see. And I'm like, I don't want to look like that. Like,
yeah. Oh, so I had an LMT on the massage therapist on a few weeks ago. And, you know, he was talking about that too. He's like, cause he's more correctional therapy. And he was like, the one big thing with women is like, you protect yourself. You protect yourself by forward, right? Like, cause you don't want to walk in the room and be like, look at my tits, right? Like, you know, I'm here, I'm in charge, you know, like, he's like, a lot of times
that's why men like walk around like that. They're like bowing their chest out. Yeah.
I don't think they think that, but you know.
Yeah, I don't either.
Maybe Jonathan does. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, he was talking about that. And he's like, well, that's what a lot of like corrective work I do with women is just making sure that they're even just, he goes, take your thumbs and point them out. He goes, you don't have to like stick your whole chest out. He's like, just think about rotating your thumbs out and then your shoulders are in a more correct position. And I was like, oh, that's kind of nice. It doesn't feel like you're sticking everything up there. So, you know, if you see me running down the street like this.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but like Shannon had just commented, like posture running like with good form, you know. And I try not to think about form too much. Like I do like body scans and check-ins like every now and then. When I'm running like longer distance, I'm like, oh, okay, like, oh, this feels a little bit better. I'm not like this, you know, like, so just like do body scans and check in and make sure that you're like pulling your shoulders back, you know, and you have good running posture. But don't overthink your running posture either. Running is such a natural thing that like a lot of people are like, you heel strike so bad. And I'm like, well, that's just how my feet land and I'm not trying to change it. So
that's interesting. That's kind of going to be my next question is like tips. Like it was funny. So we started the Swolverine Run Club recently, and we're starting to get it up and off the ground, right? And so last night there was a group of us like out just doing kind of a promo video at sunset, and it's so funny. So the co-owner of Swolverine, Walter, he's a great runner. He's done all kinds of stuff. I, on the other hand, am like truffle shuffler, right? And so we're out there, and he's like, it was an individual shot on just me, and he stopped it. It's like, stop. And I was like, what? He's like, oh. He's like, move your arms a little bit. And I'm like,
running like this.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And he's like,
and then you're like, wow, this really like actually helps.
I know. And then one other person we were with, she's like, pocket ear. And I was like, what the heck are you talking about? Yeah, no,
I think there are like little cues, like what I was saying, like when I do a body scan and check in, like if I'm like just in a spot mentally, like it's just such a good thing to do. It's just like, okay, like let's move our brain to something else. Let's do a body scan. And I'm like, okay, like this feels a little better. And then it's like, okay, let me start using my arms again. Like, okay, now I feel like pretty good. Like, it's just like little cues like that of move your arms. Your arms help you so much when you're running. And just pulling your, your upper body back and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that's the great thing with running is like, there's not one way to do it. Like in CrossFit with certain movements, like, gymnastic movements and lifting and things like that. Like there's like, this is how you do it, like, and there's one way to do it. Like with running, everybody's body is so different that it's just like what works for you. And if it's working for you and you're not trying to be an Olympic sprinter, then just go out and don't overthink it, because that can be discouraging too for people. If you're like, I don't look like a runner when I'm running, or I don't feel like one. It's like, who cares? Like what you like, just go out and like just start moving your body and like tweak a couple things, and then that's it. Like, and don't overthink it.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing, like a couple, and you can kind of comment on some of the ones that help you, is like pushing the ground away, right? Like with your foot, just push away from it so that you get,
I'm usually like this, like scoot and like
maybe I
shuffle is what I call it.
Scoot all day long.
Yeah. You can just shuffle along. Yeah. That's the great thing about ultras is you don't.
Go ahead.
That's the thing about ultras is you can just go out and just like move, like however you need to get from A to B, like just get there.
So funny. Maybe I'm missing my sport. Track coach was always like, stay on the field. And I'm like, but why? And he's like, just stay on the field. Get the points, stay on the field. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But, or like, what is your kind of cue? So like, I used to always like power hold my hands, and like, it's such a waste of energy. Like, just like release your hands, right? And just kind of like,
my husband always says, like, he always like does like little cues and stuff like that, like when we're out running, like just being silly and stuff, but they're always like, I'm like, that's like actually really good. He's like you're holding a Pringle in your hand and you don't want to like crunch it. Yeah. And you don't want to crunch it. So I'm like, oh, like that's actually like really good. Like you're just like holding a chip in your, like just loose hands, and like try to do like ear to ear and not like this. But sometimes I'm like, I'm so tired, I don't care like how I'm doing my arms or anything. Like maybe me doing like this is like helping me get up the hill. So that's why ultra running is, you can go out there and do like, just look however you want to, and whatever helps you like get to point A to B. Like that's what you look like. It's like good for you. Like,
yeah, right. Yeah, Rhonda's like, not me trying to record myself and see if I look like a runner.
Yes, she sent me a video before and she's like, okay, like this is what it says on the internet I'm supposed to be running and looking like, on your toes. And she's like, this does not feel right. Like, I'm not doing this. I'm like, I don't. Like, I'm out here like my feet are like, I'm like a clown out here like flopping my feet. And I'm like, it's working for me. So that's what I'm going to do.
I'm just not going to record myself running. Yeah. I'm like actually literally dreading to watch the promo video we made last night, because I'm like, no.
No, it'll be great. It'll be great. Every time I post a running video, they're like, oh my gosh, you heel strike so bad. And I'm like, well, it's working for me. So I'm totally fine with it, But it's like, I think that's what can discourage a lot of people is I don't look like a runner, or I'm not doing it the right way, or there's no right way or wrong way. It's like, just go out and start jogging. And that's your form for now. If you're trying to be elite sprinter, then that is when you start like changing things, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Shannon, I think you're right. If you're moving, then you are a runner. I actually really
That's
like
right.
that. I think it sums it up pretty
well.
Yep. You're working with Innovate, right?
Yes.
Shoes. Yes. Tell me about what you like about them, why you choose them. I mean, footwear is a pretty particular part of especially doing the caliber of running that you're doing. So what's your favorite shoe? Why do you like them, and what's going on there?
Favorite shoe is the Trail Fly Ultra. They have so many different styles of trail shoes, is why I love it so much. Is if you like for different terrains and stuff like that, they have some that have rock plates in them. So like if you're running on like a rocky terrain, yeah, that really can save the bottom of your feet. They have some that are more minimalist shoes, so less cushion where you can feel the ground more. A lot of people like that, like just feeling where their feet are planting. Me personally, since I do heel strike, I like a little more heel drop, a more cushion. So they have some that are like that I use a lot. They have so many different trail shoes. Like if you don't know where to start, you can go on their website and look up their different shoes and what like where you prefer to run. Like you can pick out a shoe for that type of terrain. And I do suggest like doing like a couple different pair, like this 100-mile race I'm going to run. I'm going to switch my shoes probably 5 times.
Really?
Yeah. Cause just different shoes fit on different parts of your feet. So I like to change my shoes like after like every 20 miles or so. Cause your feet swell really bad in the summertime. So keep that in mind and size up. And it keeps you from getting any hot spots. If you wear the same pair of shoes for 100 miles, it's probably going to start rubbing in a certain spot. So if you switch off, it's not going to be rubbing the same spot each time if you are getting any rubbing. But I haven't had any problems with Innovates, and I ran in 3 different pairs of Innovates through Arizona across 125 miles, and they were great. So
25 miles. That's wild.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man.
I know. And what's so crazy is I watched a documentary on that race, and as soon as I was done watching it, I like got on the internet and signed up for it. And I know, I was like, I'm just going to do it. Like, and at the time it was like, that seems really crazy, like to sign up for this. And I'm going to sign up for it. And then a year later, it, comes around, it's race time. And then I was like, I can't believe like I'm actually here. Like a year ago, I was just starting to run. And a year later, I'm in Arizona fixing to run 125 miles. Like anything can happen in a year. Like if you want to do something, like sign up for it and like just watch it happen. Like work for it. Like you can literally do anything.
That's so solid. And that's coming from someone who literally is like living that. It's not just like she's like gassing you up and it was like, I'm inspirational. Like it's like no, they're doing it, and like proof is in the pudding.
Yeah, it's like this sounds hard, and it sounds like really badass. Like to be like, I'm fixing to go run 100 miles, and I hope that I finish. Like that's not my thought now. It's like I know I'm gonna finish unless like you have to come. I pass out and you have to come get me. Like and then still try to wake me up and let me finish. But it's just like just sign up for like the thing that you think is like really hard and just do it. Like if it sounds hard, like that's what you need to be doing. You don't need to sign up for like the local 5K, like for fun. Like that's not going to make you better. Like, yeah, it's fun. Like, I'm not saying like don't do that, but like sign up for something that's like really, really hard, because so much can happen in a year. Like you can get so much training in a year. And then when you get to that like spot, you're like, wow, like I did that like a year ago, that seemed crazy. And now here I am. Like, so just go for it.
Yeah. And really earn your own self-respect. I think that's a really big piece of it. Like whether it's nutrition or training or lifting or I don't even know, like just like working on yourself, going to therapy.
Anything. Yeah.
It's like just get uncomfortable, be a beginner, like be shitty at something. That's okay.
Yeah.
You know, like walk the whole way and then try to jog the next time and then try to jog next time and then
I'm still like such a beginner. I've only done a 100-mile race and then a 125-mile race. Like I'm nowhere near like what I can be like in the future, you know, because each race you're seriously like you're learning something. Like, and so after each race, like I'm going back and like taking notes and like, okay, this next race that like this is going to be better. So like each race you're learning something. So like let yourself be a beginner and stay a beginner, because if you're still learning, like that's like exciting. You still have so much that you can improve on yourself. Like if you're constantly putting yourself in situations that you can learn from, like that's such a great thing.
It's so unique that you say that too, because I had a conversation with an I think she's 85-year-old woman. Her name is Diane. She lives in Durango, Colorado. She does CrossFit and she has better delts than I do. And that's what she said is she's like, you just always look at it like there's something else to learn. Like that was exactly her advice too. And she's, you know, almost 2 times your age, like our age. It's kind of wild to hear that. And to when you have that growth mindset, really anything's possible, you know?
Yeah.
Do you
just have to be willing to be uncomfortable and not care about what anybody thinks about you, you know? And that's the thing I think is our mind is like, we think that other people are judging us, but you know, they're on their own journey too. Like they don't care like your progress or what you're doing. Like they're on their own journey. So it's just like, put yourself out there and do it for you. And don't worry about like what anybody else thinks, because they're probably not thinking about what you think they're thinking about.
Well, and if someone's going to pull you down, then they're probably not your people.
Yeah.
You know, go find some new friends on Strava.
Yeah. Yeah.
Join the Swolverine run community.
I was just fixing to say that. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Do you have like a discount code or something that, you know, people can use for Innovate to support you? Is that like
not for Innovate? No, I don't have a discount code. No, cool. But I do have like just links and stuff like that, but nothing. Yeah, it's just an organic thing. Like it's really good products. It's like I wear their stuff. I wear their shirts. They have shirts. They have shorts. All of the gear that I wore, like the winter gear, the rain gear that I wore in Sedona was Innovate. Cool. The vest that I wore it for 125 miles without ever taking it off, and I didn't chafe. Yeah, and I'm not like I said, I don't have a discount code. Like I don't get a kickback on any of that kind of stuff. It's just, it's good product and it's what I wear, and they support me. And so it's easy to support them. Like they believe in, you know, what I'm capable of, and good products. So
that's awesome. Well, that is very cool. As far as your supplement routine, what does that look like? How do you use that for your training?
So people probably like I post it like almost every morning, but it's such an organic post. Yeah. I'm like in there making my drinks, but I have it every single morning. I do all my Swolverine supplements. I do like, cause I've been doing lately, I've been doing like a keto carnivore. So I kind of fast in the morning. I feel mentally like more with it if I fast in the morning. So I have what I call my morning drink that I've posted about a lot. And it's just literally like a mix of a bunch of different things. It doesn't always taste good. Sometimes it does. It's always a surprise what it tastes like. I never know what it's going to taste like. But I'll do like a seltzer water, and then I'll put in my apple cider vinegar. I don't measure it. I just pour it. And when I'm like, that looks like a lot, I'll usually stop. And then I'll have my probiotics, vitamin D, my multivitamin, and then my vitamin B, creatine every morning. And then I'll have my pre-run before a run. Sometimes, you know, if I'm just like kind of having like a tougher time getting out the door, I'll have that. But what I really like about that, it's like it's a non-stimulant. So it's not like I have like this big like pre-workout and then a crash after.
Yeah.
So, and I put it all in my drink and like mix it up, and then just like just have it, just drink it. But it's every day, every morning. I have all my vitamins at the same time every morning. It just makes me feel good and awake, and the mental clarity, all that. You know what supplement? Let me ask you, the CoQ10, I cannot sleep at nighttime if I take CoQ10. Like I've taken it a couple times. Yes. And I've done research on it, and some people like really have insomnia with the CoQ10. It gives them so much energy that they can't sleep. Like it's great. I told my husband, I was like, I'm definitely going to take this like before like 100-mile efforts. Like, but with the CoQ10, I couldn't, it gives me insomnia. But maybe I'm not deficient in it. So I'm over supplementing with it from the research that I did with it. Yeah. But that's a really good supplement. Like if you need energy, CoQ10 that you guys have.
Not being technically a stimulant, but having like a stimulating effect.
Yes.
Yeah, like because what it stimulates is cellular energy, right? Like it's not like caffeine in the sense that it goes into like your adrenals and things, but it helps with cellular production. And so it's like an energizing effect on a very base level. So yeah, I mean, potentially it could be an over supplement or just like not necessary, like, which I think that's one of the most unique things about what we try to purport to our consumer is like everyone has their individual approach. Like it's not like a blanketed one size fits all. And it's not one of those things too, like we'll be at events and I'll be like, don't buy everything all at once. Like, because if you just jam your system with a bunch of stuff, you don't know what each one, like how it makes you feel. So it's like gradually introduce it so that you can be like, it's the CoQ10, like I know this, this, or does this, and it's just this. Okay, pull. Right. And so that's pretty cool that that. Not cool that you probably lost some sleep over it, but
it is like, it's kind of like an elimination diet. It's just like, let's do this supplement first. Oh, wow, this supplement makes me feel really good. Okay, we're going to add this one in. And then you add in another one. But like you said, everybody's different. Like you don't need to take all these supplements just to have supplements. Like there's certain things that certain bodies need that are deficient in some, and there's ways to find that out. Like if you're really extreme about like the vitamins and things that you take, you can find all your deficiencies and stuff. But with me, the way I started the supplements was I was already doing an elimination diet, so it was perfect. Like I added in the vitamin B, and the vitamin D and the multivitamin probiotic. Like those are my every single day go to in creatine, because creatine is so studied, like, and with the benefits and everything. Like if you're not taking it, like you're really doing yourself like a disservice.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe CoQ10 would be good for like your super through the night races.
Yeah, that's what I was telling my husband. I was like, I'm absolutely like taking these like before my like super hard long efforts, like during a race. Because it really did, like I felt so good. And then it's like when I try to go at night, I'm just like trying to like keep my eyes shut, because I just want to keep, like you said, and it's not like a stimulant or anything. It's just like I just want to be productive and get stuff done.
Yeah, it's kind of similar too with like the beta alanine. It's so fun to hear people's like individual routines. Like we got an email the other day. I'm gonna tangent for a second. We got an email the other day. This guy's like, I think he's like 78 years old. And he's like, I just want to reach out to you guys. Like, I just ran my third ultra. Like, I just want to tell you my supplement routine and how I use it through races. And it was just such an unsolicited, like, reach out email. And
those are the best.
It's just so awesome. And that's why we do what we do, right? That's the passion part of it, is actually like get into people's worlds. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I'm so glad we're able to like sit down and do this and really talk. And especially, I think I underestimated how new you are to the sport kind of altogether as far as like the racing side. Because I don't know why I did that, but I mean, it's exciting because maybe July every year will be our podcast date so that we can go every year and be like, so what'd you do this year? What'd you do this year? Because it's, like, I really love that you said that in a year from now, that's what's different. Right. And to be able to have that reflection and self-awareness and to earn your own self-respect is, we have to live within this ecosystem of our own bodies and our minds our whole lives. People come and go and things and relationships and, loss and love and all these things. But to be able to push yourself, to be a beginner, to be uncomfortable, to really see yourself through something, I think is a very respectable quality, and something that, when we're sitting on our phones and we're in the comfort of watching others do it, we underestimate the ability for our own selves to go out and do it. And I think you're really big.
But you have to think, like, if somebody's making it, I always try to think this, if it looks easy for them, it's because they made it look that way. Like, they're putting in the work to make it look effortless, but it's not. Like, they're in there grinding every single day. And like you said, it's okay to be a beginner because, and like I said, like a year ago or 2 years ago, I remember sitting at a table, like holding a newborn, pumping, and thinking like, this is like, I'm stuck here. But no, that's just, like I said, that's just like one of those lows, and you're going to be out of it. Like, nothing is set in stone. Like, life is moving, and like, you're not going to be here forever, and it's going to go by so much faster than what you think it's going to. So just make those little goals and just think how far you can be in a year, 2 years from now, because, I didn't think I would be running, training for a 125-mile race 2 years ago when I'm sitting at the table pumping and holding a newborn. Like, no, like, it's just, put yourself out there and watch like what can change in a year. Like, give yourself a year, give yourself 6 months. Like, so it goes by way faster than what you think it does.
Thinking about 6 months and 6 weeks, I think, right? You have your next race.
Yes, that's the habanero, and that's the super hot.
The habanero.
Yeah, habanero 100 is what it is. Oh. And last year, the heat index. Okay, so last year I was going to do the 100K, but I ended up dropping just to the 50K because I had COVID a week before. But the 50K was so much fun, and the heat index, I think it was like 112. It was the hottest and they've been doing this race for like 8 years, and that was like the hottest one. But the heat index was like 112. And I remember when I got done, I crossed the line and I was like, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. And the guy was like, wait, are you being serious? I was like, yes. I was like, let's go do it again. And he's like, okay. And then that's when I was like, okay, something may be wrong with me.
I am the habanero.
Yeah.
I have become the pepper. Oh
yep.
my gosh. Well, that's an interesting thing too, I guess, is that like when we do have, because I do this when I like sometimes talking, it's like, why discourage it? Why put it in a negative connotation? Like I did this with there's this customer of ours, his name's Scott, and he comes in and he does ultras, and I'm like, what'd you do today? And he's like, oh, it's an easy day. Like I'm gonna go bag some peaks. And I'm like, bag some peaks? And he's like, I was like, I want to be a peak bagger. And then I was like, oh. And then I got this like FOMO, and then I go, well, how far is it to run? And he's like, oh, it's like 12 miles or something, 18 miles. And I was like, oh, that sounds so crappy, And then I'm like, the person fueling this athlete, and like, a shitty thing to do, right? And I'm like, man, like I kind of had to check myself. So, pro tip to others: try not to try not to have that negative connotation with it, because it's so easy to get in that negative mindset with it,
Yeah, you just reframe your mind of, wow, I get to go out and run for 12 miles today. Like, like that gives, like, that's a good break away from stuff. Like, let me use this 12 miles to just like clear my mind and then go back and finish my day. Like, how lucky that you get to go out and do that. Like, but sometimes it is like, oh my gosh, like, but like I heard on the a different podcast I was listening to the other day, it's just like, okay, like just go out and start with a walk, and then start running, and then just enjoy the view, like change up your route, wear different shoes. If you see a bench, like sit down and like look around and like take it in. Like, not every day has to like go out and like go as hard as you can go. Like, if you're just having like a down day, just go out and start moving, and everything else is like going to fall into place. And then you're going to be like, I'm so glad I went out.
It's so true. And it's so fun because you heard something similar in a podcast, and it stuck with you. And it's really going to be neat to see, or to just know that people are out there listening to you and you're going to be that change maker for them. So
I hope so, because that is what, so people will like message me like with little things here and there. And I'm just always just like so shocked. I'm like, wow, like I'm so happy that helped you. And I'm so like, shocked by like just the little thing that can like change somebody's like thinking on stuff. Like just one small thing, or that's why I smile at somebody or compliment somebody, because you can literally like turn somebody's day around and like give them the confidence to like start something that they didn't like think that they would.
I love it. I love it. I'm so glad you came on the podcast. I feel like I could talk to you forever. Where did an hour and a half go?
I know.
But thank you for coming on. Thank you for being you. Keep charging. Make sure to schedule in next July our second podcast.
Yes.
Good luck on your race. You're gonna do amazing. How can people follow you, reach out to you? How do they get in contact with you? Is like Instagram the best?
Instagram. Yep. And then, if you have questions, DM me. I'm always like going through my DMs and stuff like that, because I think it's so important to engage with the people that follow you. Like they follow you for a reason. There's so many athletes out there that people can follow, but I get excited. Like if I reach out to somebody that I think is like amazing and then they like respond back, I'm like, oh my gosh, like they actually like answered my question. So like if you have questions, like ask it. Like I'm excited to talk about it. Like I love talking about like things I'm passionate about. So just reach out, Instagram. Yeah.
So awesome. Oh, thank you, Alyssa.
Thank you.
For our for our blog readers, I guess, for our audio listeners, for our watchers, thank you so much. Make sure to subscribe to the Swole Friends podcast. Make sure to, if you do have Strava, I think they have a free version, but we do have the Swolverine Run Club on that we're getting started. Who knows? Alyssa might become a community leader here for us. But
yes, hey, you never know what can happen in a year.
Alrighty, we'll catch you guys next time.